locked in the back.
All right.
Glad you're here.
Why don't we go ahead and get started? So let's call this meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to skip down to Attorney Cross. You got for us today?
Not a whole lot. I do think Beth or Val would like us to look at the housing accelerator documents. I have, didn't have a whole lot of comments. I thought probably there ought to, even though you could do the math and divide the paragraph 1.1 grant by 10,000 to figure out the number of lots. I think there ought to be some statement, the number of lots that are involved.
I would agree.
Because that's the basis of the clawback.
Exactly.
Other than that, it's okay to me, you know.
Okay. Brad, you were very involved in that whole process. Any comments at this point?
No, I'm glad that council passed it today and that we can get going. I think Misty's comments were very valid.
Sure.
And but I think this is something that's going to go very quickly. We're not going to see, it's not going to be a 12-month lull before they start. I think once we get all the documents signed, I think these developers will start moving forward quickly.
That'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the problem with, we've got so many balls in the air.
We have a lot of stuff in the
Something
works
that
saying
people
we're going to do
can see.
Smith Hill, Elder Bearman, all this, but nothing's really.
Nothing's
A lot of behind the scenes stuff's moving, but construction doesn't. But I think with this,
Yeah, I'm hopeful.
it could be fairly quickly.
Good, good.
Well, and I also think too, I mean, with our community meetings we've held across the county, I mean, every community says infrastructure and housing. We need. And I like this because we have, you know, the place in Centerville, the place right outside of Cambridge City.
Right.
So we're county-wide on this project, and I really, really like this project for that reason
And,
too.
you know, this is going to be driven by developers. So there's probably not going to be development in every community. So we'll see how it goes, and we want to make that available as we go through the process. But it won't necessarily happen in every community.
Right.
The developers will build where they have an opportunity and where it makes sense for them to.
But I'm very pleased, and I think it's going to be a great program. 82 lots is a significant
So
increase in buildable lots.
absolutely. Let's make a point to review the document and make a decision next week. Okay.
Yes.
So let's keep the
Ball
thing
rolling.
moving.
Yes.
By the same token, let's also be thinking about what we want to propose for the other $830,000 that we still have appropriated. And do we want to do round two? If so, at what point? And do we want to change any of the criteria from this round? So we'll need to go back to council and have that conversation. But we need to have consensus amongst ourselves on how we want to proceed with that. Okay. Ron, anything else?
I've got an answer due tomorrow in the Esteb Road case, as well as I'm working with Laura and getting the record put together and forwarded to the attorneys. Not heard anything from them. We'll just have to see.
So what's our role there? It's been appealed to the courts, and we need to do something.
Eventually you'll have to pay the legal fees, but other than that, you don't.
Okay, but you're involved somehow.
Yes, I am representing the BZA. Whether there any of the property owners who will choose to intervene live on the Esteb. I've alerted the attorney who appeared for 2 or 3 of them at the hearing, and he's aware that it's been appealed. And so I don't know if they're going to or not. My guess is maybe not. So we'll just see.
Okay. Nothing else?
I think that's it for the time being.
Any questions for Ron? If not, let's go to Mr. Higginbotham.
Okay, just back to your project sheet, just a couple of things to follow up on. The parking, paragraph parking. At some point, we and you, we need to go to the fairground. We need to actually zero in on where parking lot should be. We've talked in generalities. Right, I know Mike is doing drainage plan for that entire east side, but you'll need to.
Did the Fairgrounds Committee actually have a recommendation
Yeah,
of
well,
specifically where?
I've told both Brad, not that Brad Terhar and Haley to have that recommendation, what they think should be, and have that ready. On your plate to go out there and look at it. So
What if we were gonna go out there this morning?
they should have it ready.
Okay. We'll see what time we adjourn.
I told them
If we have time.
they were told this 2 weeks ago, should they should be ready to answer questions if it's that.
Okay.
Now, and the second thing is we need to zero in on that storage area too.
Correct. So
Yep.
if we all have time, let's see if we can get out there today. If not, we'll figure something out for next week.
You have something in the afternoon, I think, though, don't you?
But it's only 11 after 10, so.
Yeah, I mean, if we can run out there and
Yeah.
And then on the proc card system, remember we had the department heads elected officials look at that proposed policy. There were a couple of things that you wanted added. I'll have them changes back next week.
Okay.
You consider copying that. And before with the implementation of this, Dale and I talked coordinating with the company that's installing these, because there's a time nobody else's key's going to work, and they'll need their cross card to get in. So that window is pretty small. You need to gear up
To get the cards
to get the
made.
cards issued.
Okay.
And but I think the way that works, the program those cards, they need the address of those locks. So
The specific like serial number and
yeah,
where
I
it's
don't know how that
located. and all
reads that, but I've got that request into the company that they can forward that to me. So my point is, over the next 45 days, this is going to gear up pretty quick.
And do we know, does the security staff, are they prepared for an onslaught of 100 people to
Well,
new cards, or is there a process for
they
that?
they were in the meeting when
Right.
when we heard this. Now, are they prepared? I don't know, but
We'll need to follow up.
Yeah.
On Missy at least and
Both
figure out
both
what,
the sheriff and Missy were in the
yeah.
meeting.
So how has the communication been with the department heads and elected officials as far as giving you the list of?
So that's not been started yet.
Okay.
Because they will need that, right?
Yep.
And security will need that to program.
Yeah, because we don't know who's just getting an ID card issued to them
Right.
or.
Or one with technology in it.
And the way I visualize this, it'll be a spreadsheet.
And really, the people that need the Prox card are the people who need access to the building after hours, right?
Well, there's exception to that, like probation, when they come back and forth, they would need access to the slot hour down.
Right.
So that's through the day.
Okay.
Uh,
And there's others.
and there's others like that
Okay.
have because these are all exterior doors, so.
Right.
Most people would not need access to it after hours.
That door was probably going to be the highest one during the day, I would assume.
Yeah, now the east one down here also from the people parking in the Euro Bank lot,
Some of them, yeah.
down there, because that always remains locked.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's
Well,
gonna ramp up pretty quick.
exactly. Okay. What
And
else?
that's all I have on the project. Just a note to you, I passed out a sheet to you that, at our fairgrounds committee meeting, we were comparing income for the first quarter each year for the last 3 years, 25, 24, and 23. And you can see on that paper, there's been a pretty good increase all 3 years. And that's just pretty well when we started to ramp up our marketing of the facility. It also is an indicator that, remember, we've landed a couple of new vendors, the AKC Dog Show,
Right.
the camping show, we landed another sheep show. And then now we've also landed a quilt show, which is a big deal if you're a quilter. I've also included that email from, we actually had to bid on this with we was competing against other groups. And I've included the email that we received from that group. And it was complimentary of our website. Remember, Haley's the one that designed our website, this vendor that is going to use this, it's going to actually use both facilities, both Coleman and Expo. They were very complimentary of our user-friendly website. So
I would agree that Haley's added a lot to operations there. I would also contend that the investment we've made in upgrades to the building fairgrounds has been a part of that as well.
it's been a part of
It
it.
just looks.
I think that helps, but nobody's gonna know about it if we didn't have
Somebody's gotta
Haley.
reach out.
Yeah.
Somebody's gotta reach out. So
And also on that,
it goes hand in hand.
and also on that revenue page that I gave you, I had to pull out just the table and chair revenue that we generated, the tables and chairs that we purchased. And it's just slightly less than $20,000. This would be for about 17 months. So into that 3-year payback period, we're about where we should be.
Yeah.
About
We spent around 40,000 on that.
just a shade under $40,000. So our payback.
So once we get a storage area, we're gonna need to think through, do we need more tables and more chairs?
Yeah, and one thing in our meeting we discussed, we're still using, remember we purchased the round tables and the high top tables. When we
Right.
purchased, we're using our old rectangle table. That we look at that as the next.
Yeah, okay. Let's go to Mike since he's here.
I'm finished.
You're finished?
Yep.
Well, we haven't gone through questions yet.
Yeah.
Let's go to Mike first and then we'll come back to you. You can sit and stew for a few minutes over what the questions are gonna be. Yeah, there. Tough questions. Hi, Mike.
Hello,
How are you?
good.
Talk to us. What do you need?
Got a few things, just kind of clean up. Council signed it this morning. But one of them was to create a line item of 33,610 of other repairs into the restricted fund 1173. Is to pay for some broom parts we can pay out of restricted money instead of unrestricted money. Our restricted money's got a better account than our unrestricted money, so that's helped that account. The other one would be to create two funds for community crossings, to where we transfer money into, and then the state, when we receive their money, will go into those funds. Then those two projects will be paid out of that, and then anything that's left at the end will be distributed back between us and NDOT evenly. And then the fourth would be transferring $10,000 from restricted stone and gravel to stone and gravel unrestricted in the MVH fund. We put a concrete pad in. At the beginning of the year in January, I transferred everything into restricted from stone and gravel. Typically, we don't do a whole lot that's unrestricted, but this pad, which is not quite 10,000, I just even the number around, then we'll see where we are at the end of the year. We transfer things back and forth throughout the year on that one.
Okay, so we've got the state grants. Trying to sort out all this paperwork. I have here, and we don't need to approve anything except yours. When we, edit funds. So. Printed on both sides. Do you have the ones for me to sign?
There.
They were back there. Okay, so they're in this file somewhere.
Told you, you can't trust him with anything.
Why would she give them to me ahead of
I
time?
don't know, she shouldn't, I'm blaming
Okay,
Bobby.
that's one of them. That's.
No, I give you
Single
one
sign.
that signed.
Are you sure? Maybe it's in this file. Not in that file. Here we go. No, that's them. Mine. I don't know that you did, man.
Yeah.
They're not in this pile.
The agenda, ones that I've signed, that's this is like this.
File, if you can find it, then I'll admit that I'm wrong. I don't see Beth's signature on any of this stuff. Those are ones that we don't have to sign. I think you gave them to Steve. Okay, let's just approve for me to sign them.
Can we,
And-
no, it's very,
No, I know. We'll go through them one at a time. So the first one is for,
First one to be to create a line item of 33,610, other repairs in fund 1173 restricted.
so moved.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Do I hear any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Second one be create fund 9210 and community crossings east single seal.
210.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And then create fund 9212 community crossings west single seal.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Motion carries.
And transfer $10,000 from 1173-0531 stone and gravel to 1176-0531 stone and gravel.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, a couple other questions.
Sure.
Speed limit signs between you and Steve, where are we at with those? And I know there was some issue of they weren't the approved signs, but is there a way to get them approved?
We're working on permits with the state. We'll see if they approve them or not approve them.
In the meantime, can we go ahead and put up the ones that are on our roads that don't need
Yes.
approval?
So why were they not approved? The sign itself was not approved?
Correct,
We ordered the wrong signs?
apparently.
Hmm.
So we're trying to figure out if there's a fix or if we can send them back and get the kind we were supposed to get. But at any rate,
I think there's 4 that will go on county roads.
Okay.
So we can put those up if you
go
want.
ahead and get those put up with input from the sheriff's office, and we'll move forward with that. I noticed a couple of the building and grounds pickup trucks have some rust on from the wheel wells. Is that something that your guys can work on and fix and repaint for us?
We can take a look at them. Some of them I know are
Some of them.
deeper than just a surface rust that probably need to go away.
A couple of them look to be just surface, and I want to see if we can get that taken care of before
Mhm.
it goes any deeper. So they were
It'll
out there
probably
this morning.
be like next fall. We're winding down on our painting because we're winding up on our road projects. So most of our painting and body work happens in the wintertime.
Yeah. But not all of it.
All of it. I mean, we can look at it and see where it stands at, and
There's,
I mean, I can put them in for rainy day type of things. It's just
okay,
a road work done, or do you want
I'll
body work done?
talk
Yeah.
more to you about it, but one of them at least is a newer truck that just has some rust around the rear wheel wells, so.
Okay, so if they could bring them out, have them bring them out to our shop sometime so we can evaluate them and kind of see what it's going to take to do.
Great. Thank you.
I'd look at them.
And then you and Brandon are still working with Gordon on the fairgrounds.
I believe Brandon is.
Is okay.
Yeah, he's more on they're working on the drainage part of it. I don't have much to do with the drainage part of it.
Okay.
So yeah, last I knew they were working on it.
I'm gonna try to get out there today and identify more specifically where we want the parking to go. So,
And I think we're gonna be able to move, so the one, it was set up into 3 parking lots. The one parking lot, we kind of fudged to the north a little bit. We're gonna fudge that back to the south. We fudged it to the north because of the carving tree.
right.
It's no longer out there.
It's no longer out
Took
there.
it out.
No kidding.
So that will save from having to take some of the trees to the north. We won't have to take as many trees to the north out, so
Okay.
I talked to Brandon about maybe being able to fudge that back down a
Okay.
little bit
That makes
since
sense.
it's gone. And then that's less trees we have to take out to the north part of it.
Was it destroyed when it?
Brad said it was no longer usable.
Okay, well, that's too bad.
Yeah, I think it was all hollowed out,
Okay, okay,
dead tree.
okay. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks.
Sheriff? Good morning, how are you?
Good morning. I'm well. How are you?
Doing well so far.
Good. Good. Come before you today to ask for a purchase that exceeds the threshold in our purchasing policy and for handguns for both well, all of the enforcement division and a part of the jail division as well. And if I can, I'd bring quotes
Sure.
forward.
Thank you, sir. Yep. 4 copies. Good.
So the current handguns that the enforcement and ones that will be replaced are over 6 years old. And they were acquired in January of 19. And we're looking to replace those. Typically, we replace them on about a 5-year rotation. So we are beyond that. We've done a lot of research and determined that the Glock Model 47 with the Aimpoint optic is the best option for us. We've, like I said, done a tremendous amount of research and this is, quite frankly, is an incredible price. They rolled these out this year. It's something brand new. Glock and Aimpoint have gone in collaboration and provided this product as a joint effort. And both are certainly proven platforms. And this price is over $200 cheaper than its nearest competitor. So I'm very pleased about that.
Do you have anything that shows what the competitor's price is?
Competitor would be a different manufacturer.
So it'd be a different gun.
Correct.
Okay. And nobody else sells this gun in this area.
Yeah. So to explain that, we've had a lot of conversations with the district rep for Glock, and they actually told us if we buy it directly from the factory, it's going to cost more than it would be from this company. There's only one other company that's in this area, Ray O'Hearn, and their prices are exactly the same. Glock sets the pricing for their products. Where they make up the difference, these individual vendors is buying accessories like holsters and other things like that. So when these transfers take place, that's where they make up their money.
And so you said there's another vendor that had exactly the same price,
Correct.
but was the trade-in allowance the same?
That I am not 100% certain on. I would have to talk to my firearms guy.
Okay.
So, and there's other things too, as well as, in addition to that, and it would be the cost for the transfers for anybody that wishes to buy their firearm back.
Okay. And I'm looking for ways to justify this is the best bid, but is this a special purchase or is there some element that?
Well, I think the missing link is you can't spec a brand. You have to spec features that that brand may contain. And I guess see that anywhere.
How much money is it? Do you have that?
The total is 28,857. The cost of
Trade-in allowance.
cost of the arms themselves are $39,117 for 51 weapons, $767 a piece, which doesn't seem out of line to me, but.
It's actually really cheap.
Yeah, and
For
then,
what?
and then $270 for trade-in on 38 of the current weapons.
I mean, I will say, knowing a little knowledge about weapons, and I think why Glock is making this reasonable. 2 years from now, this will probably be $1,200 to $1,300
Very possible.
because it's the optic with this is new. So I
they
think they're
wanna
trying to get it out to
there,
law enforcement so that
have people, you know.
kind of a marketing scheme, I think, for them. Yeah.
But so how do we, what do we hang our hat on to say this meets our purchasing policy and we should authorize the purchase? So is there something different that we need or is this?
I think the features that the Glock gun has. You
Okay.
know, and I think he's got those in his file. It's just a matter of getting them to you folks.
And so with just having the specifications of what they're looking for, do they still need to put it out for bid?
No, this is
say
just a quote
this is-
situation anyhow.
Okay.
Based on
Because
the
it's under,
size.
it's under 50,000.
Yeah.
So, so as long as we know that these are the features they're looking for, this is the only weapon that can provide those. Because you said,
Or it's the best, it's the one that has the best backflow.
okay,
Because I think I also heard him say basically, this is apparently the lowest price of the various quotes that you took in. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I mean, other than the fact you have two vendors for this gun.
Which, yeah, are the same price.
Yeah, which is the same price. So, that's
Yeah, because the price is fixed by Glock, correct?
Yeah, they're set by the company. And strangely enough, the company rep even told us that if we buy a factory direct, it's going to be more expensive. I can't really explain that other than they cut the vendors a little bit of a break, give them profit.
well, and I think is your practice typically to replace all handguns in one cycle?
Unfortunately, in this time, we're not going to have enough in our budget to be able to do that. It would be ideal to do that, but we're going to have to work on the jail full replacement next year.
But I think at that point, then you're going to have an issue of compatibility of existing supplies, and that would weigh in their favor also. You know,
so I'm gonna try this one more time. Do you have one of these? Okay.
I have some, and I think I'd like to see it supplemented with the features that this.
And that's what I'm getting at.
Like a
What do we
specifications?
need?
Yeah.
What exactly do we need from Randy to be able to authorize a purchase?
What he and Brad think are relevant to the specifications and functional features of the weapon as it sets it a bit apart from any of the others they looked at.
Okay. Does that make sense to you guys of what we need?
I think so.
Okay.
Is this gonna require a new holster?
It will.
Same caliber,
Same caliber,
so same,
9 millimeter.
same ammunition.
same ammunition. And that's part of the issue too, is we have to buy ammunition to, in layman's terms, these guns have different features than the current guns, so we have to go through a transitional period and instruction with our staff that as they get those. So we will have to be buying some additional ammunition, and I have to set aside sufficient funding for
For
that.
training.
Correct.
And so what about the holsters? Is that an expense that you have in your budget?
Yes.
Okay, so
So can we make a motion subject to receiving specifications? Or would you prefer not?
I'm comfortable with that if Ron is. It's just that,
So, I mean, I think-
let's not place the order until we have
Let's just make sure that we
paperwork together.
build the case as we go. And then after this, I think it's gonna be pretty easy to stick with that or any successor.
So you just simply need a document from me indicating what the specifications are.
Yeah, and it wouldn't hurt to have a lay commissioner's explanation of the, there's two aspects. You can describe the feature, but can you describe the benefit? Because we may not be able to make that. Now Brad probably can.
Well, they can, but I can't. So write it for Jeff, just dumb it down a little bit.
Yeah, and I would go in there. I think from what I'm hearing from Ron, say why Glock
Oh, yeah.
overwhelmingly choice of law enforcement agencies and your agency.
Based on those features.
Yeah.
These features, and this is why we need
And
these
Yes.
features.
nothing wrong with talking about the market because this arguably represents a unique opportunity for savings.
That's right.
I think that's probably the
That's
easiest
where we're
sell
at
is
in
the
our
special
efforts.
purpose.
And the fact that we've been, our agencies has used Glock handguns for 15 plus years.
Okay.
So you can put that together and once we get that, I think it sounds like we're ready to.
Just don't
approve.
convolute it.
Yeah.
I won't convolute.
I don't want convoluted explanation.
No convoluted.
So I'll make a motion subject to receiving specifications to why we are purchasing Glocks over any other manufacturer.
And I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the purchase of 51 handguns at a total cost of $39,117 minus the trade-in value, subject to receiving documentation on why this is the best choice for Wayne County Sheriff's Department. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Both same sign. Motion carries.
Excellent. The only question I would have is, do you want me to bring this back to your next meeting or is an email sufficient?
Send it to us and we can look at it, email it to the three of us and
Send this into Brad or
we
And decide.
can decide
Okay.
at that point whether we need to wait till the next meeting or say, okay, we've got the information, go ahead
and one thing you might also note is the quotes that you might have received from the other manufacturers and the approximate price for is nearly apples and apples.
Okay.
You'll get recognizing that it won't.
And I would say if there's another vendor that would sell it at the same price, why? What's the benefit of this vendor as opposed to the other one?
Okay.
Good deal.
Right.
Anything else?
Not today.
Okay, well, keep up the good work.
My best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Steve. Did you say you were done? Yeah. But we've got questions for you.
We do?
I don't know. Do
I don't.
we? No?
Well,
You said you had a question.
Actually, we have a couple.
I do. Where are we on the vehicle policy? On,
The vehicle safety policy.
yes. Where are we on that? I just keep it in front of us, that's all.
You were waiting on a response from the sheriff and that little marrying those two together. Rest of it's done.
Okay,
Okay,
there you
okay, let's put it on the agenda for next week's meeting.
go.
Did you get anything from the sheriff about how that could be incorporated?
Remember
His changes, his
The out-
differences?
The out of county work.
Cause he was gonna give us, he said he was gonna make a decision on what his policy was gonna be that we could
Right, that was on-
incorporate into.
Cause we were changing
Our
that like
policy.
out of county
Yes.
use of
Yeah,
vehicle.
and I thought he said the only out of county use he was going to allow in the future was working with the state police on like traffic things. And as I recall the discussion, it was because there's a lot of things locally with grants and speed, speed things.
He's gonna concentrate
He
on
wants people to take
Wayne
those
County, yeah, take those projects over.
instead of going out of county to something else.
And then that wording of assignment of cars. Where our policy has specific reasons for assigning a car that his had at the discretion of the sheriff, I think. Okay.
Yeah, and we asked him to eliminate that.
So
Was
that
that
are
okay?
two things. And the rest of it, I think you all concurred on.
Okay, well, let's get together this afternoon and we'll work up an email, asking him to finalize those details. And I'll copy you guys on that. Okay.
And then the sheriff garage mechanic, I don't know if that's Steve question or if it's ours.
I think it's
Steve's involved in it, I know, so
it's up to us, and I think probably
just where we are
the
on it.
personnel committee. So I think we need to make a decision. They put an extra person
Mechanic.
in the budget, an
Yeah.
extra mechanic in the
I
budget.
thought the last time we talked, it was gonna be, we were gonna sit down with the sheriff and Mike
And us.
and us and say, okay, what are we, how's this look in this transition?
Okay. So we need to schedule a meeting with Mike and the sheriff and
Yes,
us.
and let's
Okay.
try to do that for
Yes.
next week too.
That'd be great. Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay.
Signage on vehicles. Do you know where we're at?
I think it's all finished with the exception of two.
Those two are,
He's been scheduling them as they come in for oil changes.
okay,
And one of them is the building commission. I think one of the coroner's trucks.
I think all three of the corners vehicles have it on it.
Okay.
I think
They do actually.
EMA
I've seen
has
them on all
one.
three, so.
Yeah,
they still have one that's not,
just a handful left.
okay. I see them all around, so,
I know Source truck's not marked, because I saw it this morning.
okay.
But I think you're right, Brad. I think there's a EMA truck that's not been marked. And if you say the coroner's been marked.
Yeah, they're all three.
Yeah.
And I will say, it is nice. You can readily see a county vehicle now.
Yep.
Yeah,
And then I've seen a few out and about and I'm like, why are they there? Kind of, there was one in our neighborhood and it was do we have a black van?
There's a community corrections.
That's what that was then. It was over off of Henley Road. I'm like, why is that van just parked there?
Probably have a person out picking up.
Yeah, well, I didn't know what it was, but I could see that it was a county vehicle.
which I think they look good.
Yep, I
The
agree.
coroner told me that he was pleased with how they came out,
Good.
that he thought they looked good. And he was one that
I know he had some
initially
questions.
had some questions. The surveyor, that truck looks good and they're happy with it.
And I do know that I've talked to, and I think I forwarded to Matthew, it's said he was fine with that on there, but they really would like to have some additional markings.
So I think we just need to get them to,
Give us a design. I thought he was gonna go out to A+ and have them write up a design so that, and figure out how we're gonna pay for it.
exactly.
Yep.
So I think we're making good progress.
I assume you've had no problems with anybody getting it done then just as an oil change. Good. Good.
We also need to think about a couple of things. Number one, the fencing around the electrical boxes on north of the courthouse.
Yes.
And then also the same kind of fencing west side to close off that arch and have a gate, a lockable gate there.
Yep.
You know, which material do we want to use? How tall do we want them to be? That kind of stuff, so that Smirelli can get material ordered. I'm sure it's not something you buy off the shelf. So
It'd be really nice on that back gate if we could have a prox card almost instead of a key, but I don't know if that's would be something that we could get done after the fact or not, but that's
we'll have
just-
our prox card experts look into that.
because that would be then you're not giving out keys again to everything. So
At least electronic keypad.
something, well, something quickly accessible for the jail staff to get the inmates in and out. So
And then we need to start thinking in terms of landscaping.
mhm.
As they get done with some of the concrete work, then, you know, we talked about trees, and you still haven't been able to find the tree service to give you a quote on removing.
Between trees
It's
and
big.
fencing.
Yeah, fencing for the maintenance building. So part of the thing, there's $50,000 in that contract for landscaping. I think some of the dangerous trees need to be removed, and that is going to feed into that $50,000.
Oh, I could rid of that.
If we took
Those
out
are
all
big
the
trees.
ones
Those
that
are
need to
big
come down, I
trees.
know,
Yeah.
those are probably, well, I don't want to guess, but those are going to be expensive. So
Mhm.
my opinion, and we know yours, I think the ones that need to be taken down for safety's sake, we need to allocate funding to do that.
I agree.
And
Sooner than
whatever's
later.
left, yeah,
And do it now in summer
exactly.
Mhm.
while we've got all the construction going on out there.
Yeah.
So
Because we got some hanging over parking lots, some hanging over streets. So I agree.
And then if there's money left over, what else are we going to do?
Mhm.
Which areas should be high priority? You know, I personally, now that they had to remove the bushes around the courthouse to do the stonework, I really like the way that it looks, being able to see the granite at the bottom and then the limestone.
I think
above.
minimal, I think maybe just like rocks. You know,
Rocks or grass or.
because we don't want to do mulch because then there's a cost of redoing mulch every year and keeping the weeds out of it. You do rocks and put the underlayment, you know, the tarp underneath of it. So
The weed fabric.
yeah.
Well, do we want to make those decisions working with council? Do we want to hire somebody to make recommendations?
I would like somebody to make a recommendation. I mean,
Kind of would too. And it,
I'm not a
particularly in
landscape guy.
terms of material of, you know, if we choose to put gravel or rocks or something close to the courthouse, you know, what kind should it be? How big should they be?
mhm.
You know, if you have really big rocks, is that somebody going to use those to break a window, or
Right.
what do we really want from security perspective as well?
Steve, could you see if I don't even know the name of his company, that Ben guy, if that's something he does,
That what was,
give recommendation like what to do around the courthouse as far as
I thought the whoever did the wall and the bushes around the generator seemed to do a really nice
I
job.
think that was that guy I'm
Was that
talking
the
about.
same guy? Who that was somebody in Hagerstown, wasn't it? Hagerstown
Nettle Creek
Gardens or
landscaping.
Nettle Creek Landscape. You think that's it?
I think that's who it is. I'm talking about.
Okay, well, let's make some calls and check into that.
Yep.
Okay, anything else besides finding these documents that I need to?
We have a hotel rate, it looks like.
Yeah.
And then do we need to approve the
We need to
endorsement of the
approve
fee,
done. We need to approve the done,
the $50 per
right.
talk to council?
Do anybody want to make a recommendation?
I'll make a motion that we approve
done admin fee schedule.
And yeah,
Second.
Have a motion and
Yeah.
a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. What else have you got, Bobby?
I have 2 hotel rate increases.
I thought we.
We did raise it.
It's gonna be 151.
The first one's from the Child Support Division for 1 room, 3 nights, $159 a night at the Hampton Inn in Fort Wayne. The second one is from the prosecutor's office for 3 nights, 8 rooms at $154 a night at the Embassy Suites in South Bend.
Maybe we should move to 160. I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve those rates. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign. What else, Bobby?
We need to start looking into doing another property assessment with Buckley and Associates.
All right, how long has it been?
2 years? Last year.
It would have been 22 was the last time we done that.
3 years. Okay,
Is that Buckland, what you said?
yeah,
It's personal property.
it's personal property.
And
It's like equipment and furnishings and
equipment, buildings,
Buildings.
everything.
it's everything. Every physical asset. Yeah.
Above that threshold.
Above the threshold of, what did we say, 5,000? Okay. So it's mostly like cars and buildings and expensive stuff. Okay. Do we have a proposal from them yet?
No.
Okay. So we'll get together and you guys okay to pursue that?
Oh,
Yes.
Of our contractual line item in the budget. Okay, we'll pursue that. Anything else?
Nope, that's all.
All right.
City planning sent us that quote over. I've sent him a message, the page 1 of the stop signs.
Oh,
Cause we can't approve that I sent it to you guys.
there was, you
Page
said
1
page
of the
1.
3 was missing.
yeah,
Total was like 10,000
Right,
some change and
and
we
the
were
only thing
agreeing
was
to
on
pay
there.
half of it.
okay. So you have page 1?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
The flashing stop sign out here at the
The
crosswalk
crosswalk on.
on Fifth Street.
Mid block, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Cause we already approved that, didn't we, subject to getting the quote? I mean,
But, yeah, I'd like to see page
all
1.
page 1 to
before we
say,
approve
yeah,
it,
okay.
Cause that's where most of the money was on page.
I just want to give you an update. I've requested it and
Okay, good,
so
good.
hopefully we get it by next week.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right, Ron?
Our issue on 25 North 7th went away. The city's paying the tax.
Okay, good. Which is probably what they should do.
Right, they should do.
Situation, okay. Mark?
I heard the sheriff, when he was talking, say he had at least one other quote on those pistols.
That was the same price.
Yeah. Just as a suggestion, maybe that should be in the minutes also as to who it was and the amount that they quoted. And
He said he was going to get that put in that specification.
Okay, anything else, Mark?
I do know that the company that he quoted with is a company that we've worked with for years with firearms. I do know that.
Jeffersonville.
Yes, it's the same company. I know.
The other
when
company
I-
went out of business.
Yeah. So it's a good relationship.
Because they were selling them too cheap, so they.
He says they're fixed by Glock.
All right.
It's called a blue line pricing, so.
I have a few items.
Yes, sir.
First of all, in my stack was Buckland and Associates.
That's what we just talked about.
Okay, we're good. Right? Thank you.
It's just a.
Do you have the documents that Beth signed in your stack?
No,
Okay.
I do not. Thank you though.
Because I don't have it in my.
I
stack,
appreciate you asking. Thank
As
you.
far as I know.
Before I get to the minutes and the claims, I would like to share from March 11th to May 5th, we had 409 visitors to the highest point in Indiana. I was just informed of that. I just wanted to share that So, and
Thank you.
that's kind of nice
So you
to,
don't need to put
to
it in
have.
my mailbox. We,
I see
No,
those all the time.
I'm going to be glad to share it so you guys can see that. I think it's important.
You're new and you are fascinated by that. And I've seen dozens of those reports and they are fascinating.
They're very fascinating to see the visitors that we get.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
From all over
to
the
keep
country,
it-
all over the world.
to keep this moving. So real quick, my opioid convention I was at last week, it was very good, very informative. One of the big things that they really talked about and one of the key factors that I believe that everybody's wanting to start hitting is more early education, more early prevention, more early intervention. Because we, as a group, and we discussed from all over the states, is we think that we allow it to go too far, and then we try to stop the drug addiction or and the issues going on in all of our communities, and it gets to where the overdose rate is high. And so one of the big pushes that we're looking at countrywide is early intervention, early education, and that's really the push and the focus that a lot of people are wanting to go for with some of this opioid settlement money, which is good.
However,
Yes,
question that has come up in the past is that an allowable expense from the restricted money?
it is.
And it was ruled that it was not earlier. So if it, let's review the allowable expenses, because if we do that, it's going to take some of the restricted money because there's not enough
Yeah,
unrestricted.
it would have to
Agreed.
be restricted money.
to support that.
and one thing that was brought up, and they said as long as it is a direct education of drug prevention, drug addiction, that you can use the restricted funding for that. If it's
That's
direct
the-
education. So if it's
That's
education
NACO's-
for that,
that's
yes,
NACO's interpretation.
Correct.
Okay, good.
So-
Because that's who had the original interpretation, that it couldn't be, that it had to be a more immediate connection to saving lives.
right.
So
So
that's good.
direct education is good for restricted. So I was happy to hear that. I'm glad, and I'm glad they kind of loosened up the strings on that, because everybody there felt like that it was an important factor. So
It may be a step for us to take to check with the Attorney General's office, just to
Correct.
make sure that they agree with that interpretation.
I would agree. Yes, sir.
So have you thought through when and how you want to go about the next phase of awarding additional funds?
I do know that there have, to my knowledge, there are a couple of organizations within our community who have expressed interest in receiving some funding. And I would like to possibly have them come in at some point in time and meet with the group on our advisory committee that we use now through
Through the health department.
through the health department.
And I don't disagree with that,
Mhm.
except that I would like for us to take a step of announcing to the community that this is our process for awarding opioid funds, and solicit applications instead of kind of reserving the money for the 2 or 3 groups who've already asked us for it.
Sure.
So I think, it complicates things. It makes it certainly means we have a lot more requests to look at,
Mhm.
but I'd rather allow people to make requests and then choose the ones that are thought to be the highest priority.
Well, I think if we do that, then we need to put a time frame where,
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, it's not an open
Absolutely. We
invitation and whenever. I mean, we
start
start,
accepting them.
June
today.
1st or May, and say
Yeah.
today till, end of the month or whatever it is, so that we,
Absolutely. Put a time stamp on it, and then, we through the media get the word out that we're accepting applications.
Agreed.
Not that we're accepting them right now.
Right.
but Let's work on.
I'm going to reach out to the Attorney General's office and verify
let's get all our ducks in a
and
row.
make sure all that's good.
Absolutely.
Have some guidelines set out. So this is what we could use restricted for. This is what we can use unrestricted for.
Good.
If you're interested and like I say, put it out in the media, and maybe within the next 30 days or something, we can kind of at least put it out, and then
leave like June 1st, would that give us?
That would
It's the
be-
7th.
that would be
now,
great. Yeah, I think by June 1st, our first meeting in June, I think we can have that accomplished where we can at least
Put it out there.
put it out there,
Right.
and then here's the time frame.
We need the application
Yes.
by June 30th or something.
Yes. Give about 30 days for
This
that.
summer.
That'd be great.
Good.
That'd be a great time frame.
Thank you.
So, yep.
Also, along those lines, for our viewing audience, I want to brag on one of our commissioners here who not only did he go to DC and for the OPA, he was invited to go to the White House. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience there and why you were invited to the White House? And
Sure. So as a part of that group, there were three of us that were asked to go to the White House for a meeting, and the White House called the meeting through NACO, and they wanted to know about homelessness. They wanted to know about drug addiction. They wanted to know about overdose in our communities. They wanted to know maybe some things that we could look at to help solve it. Some areas that will not work. So because of my law enforcement background, I was chosen as one of the three of that group to go to the White House meeting. Very good open dialogue with advisors to the president. Three of his direct advisors were in that meeting, and along with their aides. And they were very open to the dialogue that we had that day. I know one of the biggest things we talked about and one of the solutions isn't it shouldn't fall under necessarily law enforcement. It shouldn't fall under, arresting everybody, putting them in jail is not the answer. But yet we need to find treatment, appropriate treatment for mental disability, drug overdoses, homelessness. But to make those all crimes and just arrest people and put them in jail is not the answer. Our jails are already crowded now, cost a lot of money, a lot of liability for our jails. And so we had some really, really good open dialogue, and the White House called that meeting and asked for it and took a lot of notes. And I really appreciate them being open and candid with that conversation.
Well, thanks for going and participating.
Yeah,
in
wonderful.
that. I think that's a real plus for us.
again, another person in the White House that from Wayne County is a pretty big deal. Sheriff first and you, so.
Speaking to your point about options beyond incarceration, the crisis center that Centerstone has started up, I think is a really good option. To either taking somebody to the emergency room for a psych evaluation or putting them in jail, which have been the only options. And funding for Health First Indiana has been cut substantially. We are currently supporting the crisis center with money through Health First. So that may be something that we need to evaluate. My hope is that at some point in the very near future, they'll be self-supporting because they're able to bill insurance and Medicaid and such for their services. So,
And something else that came up too in the opioid conference and along with the White House meeting is kind of the same mindset is the same one treatment will not cure or will not be a benefit to everyone,
right.
because everyone reacts in different ways.
Sure.
Everyone responds in different ways. And because of that, our communities and the federal government, when they talk about possibly helping or making policies, we need to look at it's not just one answer for everybody. It's going to be multiple avenues. It's going to help because, again, not everybody responds to the same treatment or the same avenues of health. So,
Good point. Okay, anything else? Anything you want to recognize me for, Brad? or-
No.
Okay, I just wanted to give you the opportunity. If there's nothing else,
I have
you do have
Claims?
something else.
a couple other things.
Oh, claims, yeah.
Let's do the minutes first. Can we do the minutes first?
Why don't we?
All right. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from April 23rd, 2025 from the Board of Commissioners meeting.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I have claims. I'd like to make a motion to approve the following claims. State payroll taxes, state and local payroll taxes dated April 30th, 2025. Payroll premiums to Boston Mutual dated April 30th, 2025. Dunflex and garnishments dated May 2nd, 2025. PERF and federal payroll taxes dated May 2nd, 2025. Payroll dated May 2nd, 2025. Jury pay dated 4/29/2025. Claims to Galcasa paid dated 4/30/2025. Veteran assistance dated 4/30/2025. Semi-annual readmittance to the Common School Fund dated 5/1/2025. Centerpoint dated 5/8/2025. And general claims dated 5/7/2025. And the last is Elder Beerman Project paid 5/12/2025. I'd like to make a motion to approve those, please.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Motion carries. Anything else, Aaron?
Now, I believe I have wore my welcome out today. Thank you.
Not at all, not at all. Thank you for everything you do. All right, I think this time we're all done. Anybody else? We're adjourned.